All right, let's go ahead and get it started. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everybody. And for those of you that are watching on Twitch, if this is your first time meeting me, I'm currently live on Twitch, and we're going to go over the patch notes for Series or Season 19 that El Chico EV just released on Twitter. It is currently 9:35 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the evening before the reset or the season reset. So we're gonna have a kind of a live react of the patch notes that are released, but I had a kind of a really brief read down of the patch notes, and we're gonna go through it right now. And we're gonna be talking about it on YouTube as well. So do be sure to follow me on Twitch if you do want to meet me in person, and of course subscribe to the YouTube channel to know when the next episode of DraftMaster, which is gonna be a part of this series, is all about. All right. So El Chico EV just posted this, I would say literally a couple of minutes ago, maybe less than a half an hour ago. So we're going to be going through this stuff. So the new season, the battle pass is going to be Umbreon and Mew. So am expecting a little bit of buffs, maybe adjustments to those characters specifically. All right, normally these patch notes start out with the new events that are coming out. So Phalanx is going to be joining Pokemon Unite next week. Looks like Dragon Carnival. This is going to be a new event that's going to be from May 9th through May 16th. That's going to be next month. And let's see. We get a cool Rayquaza hat. New event, Dragon Carnival. I believe this is around the time where they're going to be releasing Cerulege as well, which is, strangely enough, is not a dragon type. The most recent dragon type was Miraidon, but who knows? We might have a new dragon type that is not released or is not in the leaks currently that we might see next month. So that's going to be in a couple of weeks, exactly a month from now, as this date here says. But let's go ahead and get into the fun stuff. These are the adjustments to the Pokemon. Before I read this down, I want to just again go over some of the stuff that I am expecting. So a couple of characters that I do expect to get a couple of nerfs. They're going to be Buzzwole. Buzzwole obviously is very strong in the Western metagame, that is Latam's, especially North America, and then also in Europe as well. Thinking about some of the Japanese meta, maybe an adjustment to Dragonite. That would be kind of crazy. I know Zoroark is very much heavily favored in the Asia regions as well, so maybe some adjustments to those. All right, so Meowscarada getting a nerf to their attack. It's pretty surprising, in my opinion. You know, Meowscarada is still a very strong speedster. I think Leafeon is even better, but considering that Meowscarada was the most recent battle pass feature, kind of surprising that we're seeing a nerf to Meowscarada already. Our Mewtwo Y getting adjustments to their special attack, reducing the overall special attack damage. Teleport, the effects on the user has been weakened. I don't know exactly what Mewtwo gets. I think, does anyone know Mewtwo's effects that Mewtwo gets upon getting teleported? All I know is that it teleports Mewtwo from place to place. So we'll maybe look over what exactly that is in just a second. All right, Infinite Cyburn, that is the Unite move. The damage dealt to opposing Pokemon has been decreased. And remember, this is stacking on top of the overall special attack decrease. So not only is Mewtwo Y getting an overall special attack decrease, but these moves are also getting a decrease in damage as well. So think about it like a 1-2 punch. Overall special attack and also the Unite move damage is being decreased. So they stack on top of each other. Duration of effects on opposing Pokemon also decreased. So when when a character or a Pokemon gets hit by this Unite move, they get a little bit of displacement, or not displacement, but slow when they get hit by the Unite move. So I would say Mewtwo Y getting a huge slap on the wrist. Not even a slap on the wrist, but pretty, it's gutting this Pokemon, essentially. Our Eldegoss, looks like we got weaken, decrease, 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 decrease. So this is going to be nerfs across the board for Eldegoss. Eldegoss, boosted attack. The effects on opposing Pokemon was decreased. So if you think about Eldegoss's boosted attack, part of its passive ability is that it slows enemy Pokemon whenever you hit them with a boosted auto. So think about it like a red buff, a built-in red buff for its boosted auto. The effects of the slow have been decreased, which is wow. I think that's pretty insane as well. Our Pollen Puff, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon decreased. Pollen Puff Plus, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon decrease, and then the effects on the user weakened. I'm not sure what the effects on the user are. I'm not an Eldegoss main myself, but I'm assuming when Pollen Puff is placed on the ground or if Pollen Puff is used on the user itself, there are some effects that have been weakened. I'm not exactly sure what that is. The Unite move, Cotton Cloud Crash, the damage dealt to opposing Pokemon decreased. So essentially what this targets is that they're trying to reduce Eldegoss as an attack damage Pokemon, because Eldegoss, again, is a support character. Maybe they're trying to target these decrease in damage, decrease in move speed to make Eldegoss more of what it's supposed to be, I guess, a support-oriented character. I don't think that necessarily they need to decrease the slow that Eldegoss provides, because I think that is the type of support that Eldegoss provides, but the damage to Pollen Puff does kind of make sense. Our Store Power Espeon, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon decreased. I love it. I love it. I love it. The reason why is because, once again, I always believe that moves that are sure hit abilities, that is, when you hit the ability, and it's targeting an enemy Pokemon, it always hits no matter what. So I like that abilities like this, abilities like Icicle Spear from Glaceon gets decreased. I love when that happens. So I think this is a very justified nerf to Espeon. Zoroark Night Slash, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon decreased. The cooldown has been lengthened. The HP restoration you get upon hit of especially the last hit of Night Slash has been decreased. When I think about this, I think this is one of the... It's similar to how Dragonite was nerfed in the last patch, right? I think this is very region specific in my opinion. Specifically for the Japanese players, because they do love Dragonite, as we saw with Kabi-chans, and they also do love Night Slash Zoroark specifically. So once again, I feel like the developers for Pokemon Unite are really honing in on the Japanese meta to direct the changes that they are making to the game. I think that they had made that change for Dragonite, and I also think they're making this change for Night Slash Zoroark specifically as well. Alright, and one of the bigger losers of this, in my opinion, is Buzzwole. Superpower cooldown has been lengthened. Superpower Plus, the following effects have been adjusted. The move cooldowns, again, have been lengthened. Buzzwole Smackdown, the effects on the user has been weakened as well. So again, this is a big... I wouldn't say it's a big nerf. I think the biggest change to Buzzwole would have been if they changed the damage that Buzzwole does, but I like that they're starting to give some attention to Buzzwole, because I think this is rightfully so the best character in the game right now, maybe right next to Leafeon, but I like this a lot. I do like this a lot. Yeah, it's just the cooldowns. It's not even to the damage. It's just the cooldown. So if you're still able to, land these moves, I still think it's going to be kind of it's going to be crazy. Yeah. So I think one of the things I have to think about though too, is that when you think of Buzzwole, right? Buzzwole gets these chains at level 11, like Security is talking about. When you get to level 11, you get Superpower Plus, right? And so if you're able to get your Beast Boost gauge to full, you basically get another superpower. So I'm wondering what this plus ability change is, right? Because when you increase your Beast Boost gauge to full, you get another superpower. So I wonder how they changed that specifically. We'll have to know what the exact changes are once El Chico Eevee dives into the game just a little bit further. But one of the things about Buzzwole is it doesn't really act like some other all-rounders or bruisers where it stays in the pocket for a very long period of time. I think that Buzzwole is kind of like an assassin in a way. It stays in a bush. If you walk up to a Buzzwole walk into a bush that the Buzzwole is in, it basically crowd controls you until you get KO'd, right? And so you don't really need to worry about cooldowns very much if you're basically waiting in a bush for a long period of time. All right, I think what they needed to do was target maybe more of the damage that it does, because the amount of damage that Buzzwole does is rather crazy. So we'll see how big of a slap on the wrist this does to Buzzwole, but I would have liked if they toned down the damage just a little bit more. Our Umbreon. So Umbreon again is the featured character for the Battle Pass for Season 19. So expected to have a few adjustments to Umbreon. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So the following stats have been decreased. Both the defense and special defense. Considering it's a defender, I think that's pretty big. So even though it is the featured character, they're still adjusting it downward in a certain way. Okay, so defense and special defense has been nerfed. Umbreon Wish, HP restoration has been increased. So I like these changes, right? So they're decreasing the overall defense of the character, but if you do decide to go the more support-oriented Umbreon, they're giving you more HP restoration at the amount of HP restoration as a whole. So I like that. I like that in general. Foul play effects on opposing Pokemon has been strengthened. Duration of those effects have been increased, and the damage dealt to opposing Pokemon has been increased. So they're really trying to hone in on this more damage-oriented Umbreon, while at the same time decreasing the amount of damage it takes to KO Umbreon by reducing these defenses. Fair. I like this in whole. I like this as a whole. I think that Umbreon, but I think that they're trying to tone a lot of these defenders to be both types of both a defender and an all-rounder, and it makes sense for this specifically by tuning up the foul play and tuning down the defense. I like that they're going on both sides of the spectrum, toning it down in some ways and nerfing it in other ways. All right, and then Swift, bug changes, damage. Not sure exactly what the bugs were with Swift, but some bug changes with Swift. Our Machamp got some adjustments. The following stats have been increased. Defense, following stats have been increased. Special defense. Submission Machamp. The damage dealt to opposing Pokemon has been increased. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I like that they're giving some love to these lesser used movesets. I think most competitive players and most players on ladder, they like to use the dynamic punch moveset. I like it. Love it. I think it's fun. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Our Snorlax block. This move's movement speed decrease has been weakened. The shield effect has also been strengthened. Okay, so let's think about this conceptually. So when Snorlax puts up a block, it causes Snorlax to be slowed just a little bit while it's moving from side to side, up and down, etc. And so what they're doing is that they're decreasing the amount of slow it causes to Snorlax. Thereby, Snorlax is able to move faster while the block is up. I love it. I love it. I love it a lot. I think between the two abilities in that slot, being block and yawn, I think right now in the competitive Pokemon Unite, I think a lot of teams are starting to use yawn a lot more. And again, very much like Machamp, I do like that they're giving more attention to these lesser played movesets and trying to make them a little more in parallel with its counterpart in that slot. I think it's pretty cool. Hoopa Trick. Shield effect, very much like the last two we were talking about. Hoopa players in competitive, they mostly use Hyperspace Hole in that slot. It's Hyperspace Hole or Trick, and they're buffing up Trick to be having it more on par with its counterpart in that slot. Pretty cool. Aegislash cooldown has been reduced for both Sacred Sword and Iron Head. I don't know what the win rate is for Aegislash in the most recent week, but it's pretty cool. I like, once again, how they're giving some more love to these lesser played all-rounders. I don't know. Aegislash is... I don't have a whole lot of experience on Aegislash, but if there's anyone in the chat right now that has more experience on Aegislash, if you have some knowledge as to how the cooldowns are currently, I would love to know. I do know that Iron Head has some resets, right? With Shadow Claw. So imagine that Iron Head and Shadow Claw have even more cooldown reduction potential between the two abilities. Azumarill Whirlpool, cooldown reduced. Belly Bash, the Unite move for Azumarill. Not sure what the move adjustment is, but there was some adjustment being made. Robo Rouser. Move upgrade. Again, we don't have that much information about what this move upgrade is, but I don't know. I think Russell is one of the best defenders in the game right now. And I think it's one of the only defenders that is more of a true defender. I know some teams, I remember GT was playing a top path all-rounder oriented Russell during this last weekend. And it didn't do very well, but considering that Russell got a buff is it's pretty cool. Alright, Gyarados. Waterfall. The time needed for this move to activate has been shortened. Cool. Aquatail. Effects on the user has been increased. Aquatail Waterfall is not the moveset most players use. Love it. Cool. Alright. Bounce. Opposing Pokemon hit by this move are now thrown. Let's think about this. Alright, so for those of you that don't know, the way that Gyarados' bounce works is that you need to hit an opposing Pokemon with Dragon Breath first, and then if you hit an opposing Pokemon that's been hit by Dragon Breath with bounce, it causes a knockup. And so the specific language here is a little bit vague, but the most important one is this word right here, is thrown, which I'm not exactly sure about. Right? So thrown and knock up is the word that is the most important word here, right? Because when you think about being knocked up, think about heavy slam on Snorlax. When you hit someone with heavy slam, there is a knock up. They go straight up and straight back down, causing a little bit of crowd control. But when I think of the word thrown, think of Cotton Cloud Crash, where Eldegoss goes up into the sky and it comes down, and any enemy Pokemon that gets hit by the Unite move, they get thrown into a direction, right? And so what I think about this here is that if a Pokemon gets thrown away from Gyarados, I think that might actually be a nerf, in my opinion. Because when you think about Gyarados' primary form of damage, it's auto attacks, right? Auto attacks that are melee-based auto attacks. And so if a Pokemon, an enemy Pokemon, is being thrown away from Gyarados, you want that Pokemon to be close to you. So in my opinion, if conceptually what this is, if they're throwing Pokemon away from Cotton Cloud or away from Bounce, then I think it might be a nerf, but I don't know. Let's see. So Rippinshu is saying LD Cotton Spore, that's the little aura that comes around Eldegoss. It causes a little bit of knockup. See, that's like the language, right? I'm not sure what exactly the language is. So we'll have to see when the patch comes out tomorrow what exactly this is. But in my opinion, again, not an expert opinion, but thrown, I think of left to right, forward, backwards movement versus being knocked up. But I also don't know the type of language that they use specifically for Pokemon Unite. So not exactly sure what bounce is. All right, these last ones are just bug fixes to Horn Leech, Electro Drift, and Wild Charge. All right, so overall impressions of the patch, I love it. It's awesome. If there are a couple of characters that I think that missed completely, I'm really surprised they didn't touch Leafeon at all. Leafeon had something like a 65% ban rate during UCS, or sorry, during the at EUIC AOS Cup, and I'm surprised they are not touching Leafeon at all. That's wild to me. Other than that, I think everything else here is very much warranted, both on the nerfs and the buffs as well. I like that they're tuning down Espeon. I like that they're tuning down Buzzwole. I have some criticisms that we talked about earlier in the video about Buzzwole specifically, but I like that they're tuning it down as a generality. I think the pair of nerfs and the pair of buffs to Umbreon are warranted, and I think they're rather conservative considering Umbreon is getting the Battle Pass feature in the next Battle Pass. And for these characters, once again, I do like that they're tuning up the lesser moved U sets to have themselves a little bit more viability in the metagame. All right. I think that is going to bring us to the end of this video of going over the most recent patch for Series 19 or Season 19. If you have any impressions, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, go ahead and leave a comment in the comments down below. And again, we are streaming this live on Twitch, so if you have not met me on Twitch, feel free to drop me a follow on Twitch to meet me live, I guess, on the Twitch channel. And I will see you guys on the next one. And of course, good luck out there. Series 19 is going to be a fun one. I'll see you guys in the next one.